And to move on from the last debate, Minister, food and energy security is the most important for any country. Yesterday evening, you probably are aware, being the Minister over, that the EU diktat voted that the gas is now gas and nuclear is going to be basically classed as a green resource, which I don't have a problem with. You are also probably aware, Minister, of some of the things going on in Europe, like in the Netherlands, where you are proposing as well to bring in climate targets in the agricultural sector, where the Netherlands government are actually closing down farms. Funnily enough, our own national media don't seem to be interested in it. They're rather showing something in Australia or somewhere else, but they don't want to show farmers being kicked around the place. And Minister, you are probably aware that at the moment, when you talk to fuel merchants around the country, that coal is getting scarce. I know we have only a couple of places that we're importing it from, but it's getting scarce. But on top of getting scarce, it is now over doubled in price. It is estimated that a 40 kg bag of coal this winter in fuel merchants I've talked to will cost over at least €50 or over. You are probably aware, and you talked earlier on, Minister, about the price of oil coming down. Well, have a look why it did come down. Because the American dollar got strong and the euro has collapsed. That's the reason why. And when the American dollar, when you exchange it back again, there's damn all in what oil has come down in the last few days. Yes, it was 120. It's probably, if you put it into euros, it's probably 105, 106, heading 108 at the moment. But the reality is that 160 a litre. To buy a litre of white diesel is 220. And I'm asking you, Minister, is there within government and within Europe, you've talked about Europe earlier on, that we cannot do this, that and the other. Is there, Europe exports food, is there an agenda in Europe to reduce food output the way that they won't be exporting it, that the figures will stack up on their green agenda, but they are going to actually starve other people in other parts of the world? In relation to our own country and gas, Minister, my understanding is there is an application for a licence on your desk at the moment in relation to a company, or basically in Mayo, where there appears to be a large resource of gas that would help this country, and my understanding is that your department is sitting on it. What are you going to do in making sure that we have security? Because whether we like it or not, we will need gas into the future. And Minister, the last thing I'm going to say, Concordia, you are aware of the pressures, as has been outlined earlier, that ordinary people, and yes, people that get fuel allowances, you've risen, I admit that, but the new poor is Middle Ireland. And where are you at the moment for the people on the fuel regulations that you are bringing in at a time when those people are barely able to heat their homes? Where are you on the new fuel regulations? Because we need to know before the holidays are over.
I'm sorry. Please, Minister.
There are a lot of different questions there, Dr. Fitzmaurice.
It's all about fuel and food.
It would be difficult to address all of them. On that last one, I expect, as we agreed, as we went to public consultation last September, to issue regulations this autumn, not affecting the householder, not even looking at what the producer or someone might be cutting a bog and so on, but looking at the retail side, on smoky coal, on wet wood and on turf, at the retail and internet sales level, as we agreed in the consultation last September. It's true the world has changed since last September with the war, and it's true the price of coal, because a lot of the coal in the market would have been Russian coal, and it affected the supply chain there, as in oil and gas is also significantly affected. The key answer in this insecure time for Europe and for Ireland is, I believe, the European Green Deal plan, set out by the Commission in advance of the war, but becoming all the more urgent and all the more committed to now. Because a world where Europe imports so much of its energy, where it imports so much of food and feedstock for its animal production system, is an insecure world for us. We do have to start becoming much more efficient. much more reliant on our own resources and create wealth out of the alternative, renewable, efficient economy, which is growing, which is where the jobs are, which is where the investment will be, and where our country has a real advantage. Our population is relatively small for the size of the island. Our wind resources are beyond compare. We can convert that now, everyone can see this coming, into hydrogen gas, which provides real security. And rather than going out into the Atlantic at €100 million a pop, trying to drill on a 50-to-1 outsider bet, that's our record in terms of where we've gone out exploring and finding something, we've 100% odds-on knowledge that that offshore wind is there and that we can tap into it and convert it. So this transition, this green transition, is central to the whole European and the government strategy, belonging to all three parties, because it's smart. It's so clever, obvious to use our natural resources in this difficult time and protect our people best through that way. I don't always agree with what our European institutions decide in the finer detail. I don't agree with the Parliament yesterday with the taxonomy vote in terms of describing gas or nuclear as green in any way. But that's not going to distract us from what we need to do, which is to tap into the resources we have in abundance, to use them with real skill, which we are good at in balancing variable renewable supply and demand management, to heat our homes, to move our transport system, to power our industry. That's the way forward. We've everything to gain from it.
Minister, we all know the way that it will be forward, but it's about the present that we have to deal with. We have to deal with people at the moment struggling. And if I have too many questions, I'm going to deal with one and I'm going to specialise in one. I've said very clearly that coal is getting scarce. That is well known. The price of it is going to be at €50 per 40 kg bag. People around the country won't be able to afford it. Can you clarify something for me? That the different types of ownership, like I brought in on the motion, the different types of ownerships, which is 11 different types own a bog, that those people will be able to cut for their own house, will be able to give to people, or will be able to sell it. Will you clarify that, and will you explain to me where are we with the draft regulations? Are we going to see them after the holidays is over, or when are we going to see these drafts?
Thank you. Minister.
Out of respect to this House, I hope and expect it will be before. And it will be before we break. And I think it's very important just to reflect that, yes, it will be along the lines of what you suggested, as we agreed last year, as we said all along, that this is about critically restricting the smoke, all solid fuels, that's affecting health. This is not about what we're doing on the bogs or what we're doing in someone's home. It's about public health. And it's about having clear regulations that will stand up against legal challenge, which we're threatened against, to make sure that we can make this switch. That's true, but that's an issue in relation to the war in Ukraine, which is a different issue. And it's true as well for those who are reliant on gas, as I said earlier on. There's real significant problem, and similarly in oil. So across all energy areas, we have a real challenge, which will require significant intervention in the budget to allow us through this particular time today.
Thank you, Minister.
But also the 80% grant to help people retrofit their homes, the change in the rules so people now can sell their own power back to the grid, the new measures we put in to give farmers additional income to be able to sell their power, their excess power, as well as they're doing the systems. That's happening today too.
Thank you very much, Minister.